Hello, and welcome back to Coffee and Grace. It's Friday. Welcome back to your weekly moment of brave conversation and thoughtful connections. I am Dee Kendricks, your host, your culture strategist, your grace warrior, your key partner for Friday afternoons or the weekend or whatever it is that you happen to participate. I'm super intrigued around when people choose to tune in. I know there's a number of folks who tune in religiously on Friday afternoons. Some folks choose Saturday. Some folks are like me with like Netflix episodes and they choose to stack them up and watch them kind of in a series or a binge, and that's fine. We love all of our Coffee and Grace viewers and family. But the important part is that you made it another week. And if you're somebody who's binging, you made it a number of minutes between the last episode and however long it had been since you joined us. As always, we start by talking about what's on my mind and what's in my cup. What's in my cup today is actually an electrolyte mix because, well, my energy levels have been lower than usual. And apparently electrolytes is something that I need to ramp up on. So here we are. So hopefully it won't make me just randomly start being so much louder during the episode or whatever. But that's what's in my cup. Interested to know what's in your cup? Go ahead and put that in the comment section. And I'm going to do something I never, ever do, but I'm always getting yelled at for not doing. And that is saying, hey, if you haven't subscribed to the Coffee and Grace channel, why not? Take this moment, go into the little thingy-majig right beneath, I think on like the lower right-hand side, and click subscribe. Subscribe to this conversation in this family. Become official. And if you have subscribed and you did get your weekly memo that we've recorded and released and premiered a new episode, then I'm going to ask that you share it with a new friend or family member today so that you can grow the Coffee and Grace family. I never do that. I'm always in trouble for it. So today's episode is going to be something a little different. We're going to spend the whole time kind of talking about what's brewing. And but we're actually going to call this episode In My Personal Opinion. Why? Because it really is my personal opinion about a number of things that are going on in the culture sphere. I did make that up, but it's a real term. And so we're going to talk about that today. And it's just you and me, because that's what I felt like. We had last week off. For those of you who do watch us every week, we missed you, but we won't have off for a while. We'll talk a little bit more about what's coming up in the coming weeks and months. About what's on my mind, well, I am actually ready for July to come in. And for any of you who believe in like energy and astrology and how that impacts the atmosphere, it's not saying it has total control, but I do believe that it's in play. Mercury and is no longer in retrograde, which is good. If you if you do believe in that and are aware of what that means, you mean it, you know that it's good. I've talked to a number of people, including myself, who have just kind of felt that heavy kind of fog-like energy, and we've kind of been on edge. Some of you have probably thought that it's the stress in your life. Well, there are lots and millions of people who believe that Mercury being in retrograde has something to do with that, whatever it is. I'm happy that it's scheduled to end and July is coming into full bloom. And even if you don't believe in that, what I do like is that July is the 7th month of the year. And the number 7 in numerology and in biblical terms stands for perfection and encouragement and peace and prosperity and security and safety. And who isn't ready for that right now? Especially with the last, 18 months that we've had as a universe, as a global nation. I'm ready for all of those things. And so that's kind of what's on my mind. We've got 7 days. By the time you read it, watch this, it'll be 5 days, or we'll be already in the next month. But I'll try to get all of you to watch the episode this week. And so that's what's on my mind. But I'm interested and excited to get into the topics for this week. So we're going to queue up what's brewing out there. All right. I always love our theme music. So what's brewing? There's a lot going on, as always, on Al Gore's internet. A ton of current events and topics that Twitterverse and Instagram world and every other subculture is talking and chatting about. I've just got a few things that are on my mind this week that's brewing that I want to talk about my personal opinion. First up, Juneteenth. Juneteenth is now a national federal holiday. And there's some mixed feelings about that. I could go into a history lesson about what Juneteenth is, but I am pretty sure based on my demographic, no one needs that lesson. And if you do need it, I am proud to say now that you can simply Google it and you'll find out all you need to know. What I really do want to talk about is maybe why people are having mixed feelings and opinions about the fact that it's now a federal holiday, which means that it's ranking right up there with Easter and Yom Kippur and Christmas. There's a lot of sarcasm in that, including it ranking with MLK Day. A lot of sarcasm. But if I be honest, I think that, I lost an earring, but I think that all Black Americans and Black Lives allies are, I won't say excited. I think at the end of the day, of course, we'd want to commemorate that moment in our history as a culture. I think that the feeling of being betwixt about whether we should be excited about whether it's a holiday now or not, and that the government recognizes it, is not that we are inappreciative or think that it shouldn't be commemorated as a holiday, as much as we just feel like we don't want it to come at the cost of ignoring all the other matters of justice on the table. Like, I don't know, the actual legal right to educate our students and our children about what Juneteenth is in the history books and talk about that point of slavery and how slavery didn't actually stop when Lincoln got up on that platform and sent out that declaration, or addressing the matter of the fact that, there's a major pandemic of police-connected homicides to unharmed humans, and Black lives and brown lives. I think that those are the things that we're saying, hey, it's important. And yeah, we think it should be recognized, but not at the cost of ignoring all these other things. For example, not at the cost of ignoring the fact that the anti-lynching bill has been stuck trying to be approved for over literally decades now. And apparently it fell apart and needed to be amended, even though there was just one senator who held it up. But the fact that in 2021, it is not a federal crime to lynch a human being is a crime within itself. And forgive me if in my seat that I sit in, I kind of feel like I don't want to celebrate the fact that our government gave us a holiday, not just us, gave themselves a holiday to celebrate the extension of slavery almost coming to an end. Because what we don't talk about is how that still wasn't the end, technically, before all these other matters are addressed. In my personal opinion, that's where the hard feelings are. And it's not really that complicated. I don't think it's about being militant. I don't think it's about, not appreciating what wins and victories we get. But is it a victory when we're fighting so hard? Let's be very honest. Nobody needed an extra day of work off. If they wanted to take it off, they absolutely could. And we, as a culture, were celebrating this already. I do love, however, that there's been more widespread education within the Black community and culture about Juneteenth, because as much as we'd probably all like to pretend that we were as aware of it and commemorated it within our private spaces for the last several decades, the reality is that's not the truth. It's not the truth for me. I think I'm in my 40s now, and I was in my 30s before I actually knew what Juneteenth really meant. Separately, I understood and knew what happened in Galveston, Texas. I had heard of Juneteenth, but I had never stopped to connect the dots. So, in my personal opinion, that's what's going on. And I'll add this last bit, and I'm so curious about what you all think about this. But, and this is probably where I'll lose a couple of, I won't say fans, but this is probably a bit more controversial of a belief, and I can't wait to have some very interesting dialogue, because I don't think everybody should always agree with everyone on every topic. I also feel a little weird about corporations celebrating Juneteenth in a loud way. I know. Don't come all at me at once. I think it feels strange to me. It's not that they shouldn't acknowledge it. It's not that they shouldn't celebrate it. And I also think that it has everything to do with who is sponsoring said celebrations. If your ERGs are getting together and getting funded to host said events, that's one thing. If the C-suite decided that they were going to get a national DJ to go ahead and also give out some gift cards for folks to have some potluck and buy themselves some food for the virtual ones, and while we all kind of have this virtual block party to celebrate freedom, I think that's strange to do when you expect that celebration to take place while those same folks celebrating that act of freedom can't even look at your board and find enough ethnicity to represent a quorum on a major decision. That's a little weird to me. And so I'm not suggesting that it's not acknowledged within corporate spaces, but I do think pace it at the same pace as your progress in equality in tangible ways. Also pace it at the same pace that we get some more progress with our own government. That's just my personal opinion. So that's it for Juneteenth. And again, I'd love to hear you talk back to me on that topic, because that was an interesting one. And I know that we're past Juneteenth weekend, and when you see this, it'll actually be the last weekend, so it's not too far off. But it was on my mind, and we were out of the studio last week, so I couldn't discuss it last week. So here we are. So next up, about what's brewing. I almost feel like I want to talk to Ben because no one's in the studio today and I'm not live, and I feel like I need to have somebody to talk to. Ben is our studio engineer, but maybe we'll do that for the next In My Personal Opinion episode. We'll see if Ben will indulge me and and be the talkback corner. So next up, Ms. Sha'Carri Richardson is on her way to Tokyo. And if you are not aware of who, and I'm trying to get it right. I don't know if it's Sha'Carri or Sha'Carri. I think it's Sha'Carri. She is literally this small running beast giant out of Dallas, Texas, who really hit some new markers in her career this past week, but also broke some more records. And she is all over the internet right now at a blaze and all over conversation coffee tables. And I love, 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 love that she is at the center of it. But what brought it to the coffee table for discussion around what's brewing is I'm a little concerned about some of the noise that I actually see out there. And I'm interested to know what you think. But guess what? I'm going to give you my personal opinion. So there's some chatter around there around how her appearance and these comparisons to FloJo, who clearly she marks as a legacy in which she's chasing to catch up to. And, I think, listen, I'm fully aware of the fact that where there comes notoriety and success, there comes scrutiny. But I think we can do better. I think we can do better than really meeting individuals who are working on life dreams and achieving them in major ways through God knows what obstacles, because we never know what people are going through. I think we can just do a better job as a human race and as their sub-communities and subculture communities to meet them with something other than scrutiny. I've seen comments around, hey, I'll take FloJo. She hasn't beat that record yet, and I don't know why she would compare herself to her. She's no FloJo. Well, I think she's fully aware that she's no FloJo. But have you ever heard of role models? Have you ever heard of admiration? Come on. I think what she sees is not only, someone who was a star and a legend in the sport or really career that she has chosen to take upon herself as being an Olympian at this point. But I think she also saw someone who broke barriers through authenticity in an era where that wasn't really embraced. We are acting like, in today's world, FloJo what blended in, and that her uniforms and that her long nails and long hair and full beat face for races were something that wasn't met with raised brows. And that she didn't thrive off of not fitting in. And here we are repeating, right, this generational mistake with this baby, because that's what she is. At 21, you're still a baby. You're an adult, but you're a baby. And that's what she has to be met with. And what's saddening is that she has to be, met with it with people who look like her. And oftentimes in our communities, we often talk about how the narrative is spun to be negative. I think sometimes we need to, as individuals, look at what role we play in creating that narrative. I love how authentic she's showing up in every part of her being. I love that she is living out loud and responsibly. Apparently Nike loves it as well because she's got an endorsement with them. And I think we keep our eyes on her. And she was what's brewing. And I wanted to give my personal opinion. And I can't wait to see her literally bring us home the gold in Tokyo. So that's that topic. Last but not least, there's one more topic, Ben. Here I go, throwing Ben out there. Ben, you could just yell back at me or something. There's this debate of vaccinate or not vaccinate. Did you know that was a thing?
I did.
And I got to tell you, I didn't expect that this would be a thing. And let me, before everyone kind of pounces on me at once around health and human rights, this is in no way saying what people should or shouldn't do. I just remember us being this country that was engulfed with a pandemic of a virus that couldn't be controlled, and we were dying to find our way out, right? Like dying to find our way out. It was mask or not mask, what have you. So I was shocked after, we've lost almost, 500,000 lives, more than 500,000 lives, that it's a debate. But what shocked me even more than that, Ben, and Coffee and Grace family, is that there is this incentivizing that's taking place in a tangible way to get people to take vaccinations. And by that I mean there's scratch cards, lotteries. I saw one state, I'm not going to name it, but there was one state that was I want to say there was these gift cards to restaurants, and my mind is blown for a number of reasons. My mind is blown because if people are not getting vaccinated because they are leery or suspicious, I got to tell you, nothing feels more Tuskegee Airmen-ish or creepy than you trying to lure me with these low budget yet high dollar, when you think about it on a state level, ways of trying to get me to get this instead of educating me. And so I think for me, the debate isn't vaccinate or not, it's educate versus incentivize. I think if money is going to be poured into getting people to get vaccinated, why don't you educate folks on what that really means and why it's important? I'll be full disclosure and say I'm vaccinated. I'll also be full disclosure and say I wasn't excited to get vaccinated, not because I didn't believe in it, just because I am leery about anything that the government puts together in a matter of months, right? And so I am still looking to see, do I grow a third ear or whatever, right? However, I'm also fully aware and did some research around when other strains come along. It's not necessarily the strain that I survived. It's the strain that has yet to hit my front door that I really want to build up immunity to. And more importantly, I have loved ones like my grandmother that I hadn't hugged in a year that I really wanted to hug, and who is in no position to be compromised because of her health. But that's me. There are other folks who, because of how they were raised and what they were raised to believe and what their access to that kind of information, they don't have that at their fingertips, and they're not even thinking that. So I don't understand why our government isn't pouring money into educating us the right way. I also want to know why they're not making it front page news as to the other strains that are coming and that other countries are starting to shut down again as a result of those strains. Because maybe the knowledge of that and the insight of that would actually save millions of lives, or at least another 500,000 lives, who may say, you know what, I'm not going to play anymore. Let me go get vaccinated. Or at least pull them to their doctors to get information. Because I do know some folks, vaccinations, physically it doesn't work out. But I do think it's a decision you have to make for yourself. I do think, in my personal opinion, that that can't be a place of indifference, that you should make sure you educate yourself to make that decision. But more importantly, what I think is that the government at the local level, the state level, private firms and drug companies and pharma, instead of ploying people, instead of showing up in a way that would be textbook conspiracy theorist case study, why don't you provide that funding to create educational platforms in a way that we all understand and can relate to? Why don't you go into those communities, all of them, and have conversations and create some pamphlets and educate? That's my personal opinion on that. So I'm interested in what you think about that. So go ahead and mark your comment in the comment section. We'll probably be doing some social media rounds for the next 7 days around this topic or all of these topics. I'm really curious about what everybody thinks about it. And again, my goal is not to get into a debate around human rights and health rights. Yes, I have my personal opinion there. My job is not to force that opinion on you today, but it is to force you to say that if you haven't at least done the work to educate yourself, shame on you. Because I think that everyone owes every other human at least that effort. So that really sums up our topics for what's brewing, which I hope you enjoyed a bit. But in closing, I've got some things to share, which is pretty cool. I got to go to my notes because I just have to go to my notes. And so hopefully you don't mind that. We put out some polls, I think last week maybe, or the week before, and we've been asking for a while, like, what are you interested in for topics? And we're very interested about what conversations you want us to have and what do you enjoy in your downtime, listening to this and watching this. And so we decided that we are going to do some summer series, which is pretty cool. So we have series coming up for July and August. And by summer series, I mean, based on your feedback and voting, we've chosen a couple of topics that will do a bit of a deeper dive, which means every episode within that month will be focused on that particular series. It'll be a subtopic within that topic because we typically have to kind of cram it all into like 40 minutes or so. And so the series coming up, the first one is actually Love and Marriage, which is going to be fantastic. Why? Because I'll have co-hosts for each episode. My husband, I think, is joining us for all of them. All of them. Do you know how hard it's going to be to get him in the studio for all? But he agreed. And Ben loves when Ossie's in the studio, which means he'll come in all dressed up, showing me up. So I'm going to have to get my outfits in order. But more importantly, we're going to talk about loss in marriage. And by loss, I mean loss of loved ones and how that shows up in marriage and whether you lose them while married, whether the other person lost them before marriage and what holes and that creates for the person coming into it. It's a deep, thick conversation. We're also going to talk about where to put the luggage. There's a lot of chat around how individuals always come into relationships with baggage. But we always get married with this baggage. And so does anyone have a conversation or get any insight? When I say I do, when you say I do, when we move in together, where do we put the luggage? Where do we put the baggage that we came into this relationship with? And last but not least, we'll be talking about from we go together to I do, right? What things are critical foundation before wedding day? Because let me tell you, there's a ton of us that realize post-wedding day, the marriage didn't start at I do. The marriage typically started at, I'll go with you. I'll go out on that first date. I'll move in with you. And so for those who aren't married yet or aren't on their next marriage because they're divorced yet, I didn't mean that like if you're married, you're going to get divorced. I meant like the divorced folks who are going to remarry, whatever. We want to make sure that you are set up for success. So all of that's coming, and I'm super duper excited. And then we have an August series that we will be announcing in just a couple of weeks, and that's going to be equally dope and interesting. And there's also another announcement that we have coming next week about another segment of Coffee and Grace that's coming to you that you're going to have access to. And I'm going to save that announcement for next week because there are lots of things happening. Our community is growing. It's building. This is why you got to stay tuned. This is why I need your engagement, because the more you engage, the more you show up, the more we can do, the more we can launch out. The more you tell us what you like, the more of that you get. So don't be strangers. Don't be quiet. I know we're all super duper busy, but we're here for you and really no one else but you. So join every social media post that we put out there, every poll. And when we decide to go live, we need you to show up. Well, I hope you enjoyed our What's Brewing, in my personal opinion, episode today. It was a little different, but sometimes I just feel like coming to talk to y'all about what's going on. Like, for instance, I want to talk about what I'm excited about watching on TV this weekend, and start talking about those shows. Well, since I'm on it, this weekend I'm excited to see Married to Medicine reunion for those who watch, because I think Contessa and Scott are going to play this whole thing out. I really want to see what's going to happen with Toya and, well, the entire cast, because I feel like she fought with the entire cast the entire season, except Contessa at the end, which is weird because they fought for 3 years, but whatever. And those of you who watch The Chi, super interested in finding out what happens this weekend. Last weekend we saw, spoiler alert, the mayor get shot. And I've got my theories around who shot him. But I could go on and on and on. But sometimes I just want to talk about this stuff. And since Mental Health series was amazing, but heavy and deep, I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to really just have this kind of loose dialogue with you that's still meaningful. But I hope you appreciated it, and I hope you enjoyed it. Right now, we're going to get ready for the last sip, though. Welcome back. So the last sip this week, I think that it's interesting that we're 7 days away from the 7th month of the year. And although by the time you watch, it'll be 5 days, hopefully. But what I really feel led to share as the last sip today is actually a call to action. And that is that over the next 7 days, whether you watch this Friday or you watch this sometime in July, whenever it is that you watch this, come in just a little. I want you to make some intentional space and time in your schedule to let go and release anything that's holding up inappropriate, unreserved space in your life. What that means, it means whether you're holding on to people that you shouldn't, relationships, clients, clothes, jewelry, artifacts, books, clutter in your home, feelings, emotions, especially offenses. Like if you're harboring an offense towards somebody or really bad feelings because they offended you, I'm not saying that they didn't. I'm saying it's time to let it go. Because what I know for sure is that energy for the things that you want in life are never connected to the energy of the things you do not want. And although it may be more comfortable to hold on to negative feelings, especially justifiable negative feelings against other human beings, they're never connected to the energy of the prosperity, of the prayers that you're asking for, of just unexpected miracles, of healthy new relationships. And so I feel really led to say, spend the next 7 days preparing for the 7th month, which is the month of perfection, prosperity, peace, and safety, releasing the things that represent the complete opposite of the things that month, I believe, is designed to bring into your life. And that's it. So thank you for joining us as usual. We're excited and geared up for our Love and Marriage series that kicks off next week with me and my hubs and a few other special guests. Till then, be bold, be authentic, and most importantly, be gracious. Thank you for joining the conversation. It was such a privilege to have you. We hope that you would keep joining the conversations. Meet us over at our social media, where there's always a coffee and grace conversation happening.